Yo, what's going on, Virtual Shine? As you guys know, last Wednesday was a very special day in history, in holiday history. No, it was not Weasel Stomping Day. It was none other than St. Patrick's Day. And I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but apparently us interns have been told from pretty reliable sources that there has been a leprechaun outbreak in the Cross Point campus. They've been infested, and I've heard that there's only one leprechaun left. So we're gonna go on a little leprechaun hunt and see if we can find him.
This is no ordinary leprechaun, let me tell you that. He doesn't wear green.
You gotta get your eyes.
Maybe he's in here. Hello, Mr. Leprechaun.
To see if he's in here.
Hello. No, Mr. Leprechaun, not in there.
Not in there.
Let's see.
That's a mating call for leprechauns.
Pumpkin. Pumpkin.
Time to go, not in here.
Maybe he's in here. Nope.
Okay, we go inside Pastor Jerry's office to look for the leprechaun. Oh, it's locked.
There's two doors. Ooh, that's the door open.
Oh, Mr. Leprechaun, where are you?
Pumpkin!
Pumpkin! We didn't find him. Okay, we need to check in here, but the door's locked. Let's open it. Oh, it worked.
Leprechaun.
He's not in here. Mr. Leprechaun is not in here.
No.
Oh, I check in. We check in East Worship Center. Leprechaun.
We look so mega stupid.
There's a leprechaun loose in the Crossway campus, and we want to know if you've seen a leprechaun. I don't know, but whoever does is very lucky. We're gonna catch him.
She's looking mega suspicious. Leprechaun maybe. No. We found him! He's up there. Just one name over.
Hey Shine, will you guys join me in worship this morning? When I'm in the valley, I will fear no evil. When enemy surrounds me, you prepare a table. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me prepare a table. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. But when I'm in the valley, I will fear no evil. When enemy surrounds me, you prepare a table. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me. Have an amazing week, everyone.
My name's Taylor, and I'm excited to bring you guys the message this week for SHiNE. So we're in the 5th week of our series, The I Am, and this week's statement that we're going to be looking at is, I am the resurrection and the life. And the main idea we're going to be focusing on is Jesus is the answer to death's demand, and we're going to look a little bit deeper into that statement as we dive into the message. So death is a topic that I think is something that's hard to talk about. It's uncomfortable and it's just sad, and I don't like to talk about sad things, and I'm sure you guys are like the same way. And I think eventually in life, the topic of death like hits us in different ways. So maybe we see it in a movie or on a TV show that we love, or maybe we see it in the news, or we've experienced the loss of somebody in our life, and someday we're gonna have to face death in our future. A couple years ago, I think it's like around 3 years ago now, I lost my grandma to cancer. She passed away, and it was really tough because I was close with her. You know, I had all these memories with her, and one moment she is with me, like in person here on earth, and then another minute she's in eternity from passing away. And that's a hard thing to come to terms with when you lost somebody. And death is a topic that I think a lot of people want to avoid, but today we're going to look at how like Jesus didn't avoid the topic of death, and he confronted it head on, and we're going to be able to see that in the story that we're going to read in just a minute. And even when Jesus was surrounded by so much grief and loss and mourning, he demonstrated compassion and care, and he like conquered death, and he has victory over death. And we're going to get to look at that further today. So we're going to be in John 11 verses 17 through 27 to get started. So it says, on his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha answered, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? Yes, Lord, she replied. I believe you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world. So we're going to look at some key points from the story of Lazarus and the I am statement that Jesus said. So he said, I am the resurrection and the life. So the first point is Jesus wants to comfort when death comes. So I think most of us have probably lost somebody in our life, and or have known somebody that has lost someone, and it can be really heart-wrenching, and it's painful, and it hurts, especially if we're close with them. And Jesus knows the sadness that death brings to us. He knows what we're feeling. And as we look in verse 25, Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And so the claim of the resurrection comes with the reality that death is coming, and death separates us from the world and from the people that we love and care about. But we can't have a resurrection if death doesn't occur. And Jesus saw this with those that were close to him, and it moved him deeply, as we see as we keep reading. So we're going to be now in John 11 verses 33 through 36, and it says, when Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. Where have you laid him? He asked. Come and see, Lord, they replied. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, see how he loved him. So Jesus was close to his friends, and he felt the pain that they were going through and they were experiencing. And Jesus was grieving, and he wept because he chose to feel just the heartbreak that death brings, he chooses to feel that. Like, he doesn't just leave them or leave us in our grief, like to fend for ourselves. Like, he wants to provide us comfort and healing and love and care at all times, and especially when we're going through grief. Just 2 Bible verses I want to read to you guys. They're both found in Psalms. So Psalm 34:18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." And Psalm 147 says, "He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds." And so we can trust that Jesus is going to be our comfort no matter what we're walking through. Point number 2 says, Jesus has power over death itself. So even though Jesus was like weeping and he was grieving over what happened with Lazarus, he didn't end his response to death with just empathy and mourning, but he actually has power over death. And we're going to see that as we keep reading. So we're going to be in verses 38 through 44 now. Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. "Take away the stone," he said. "But Lord," said Martha, the sister of the dead man, "by this time there is a bad odor, for he had been there 4 days." Then Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I know that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." When he said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. Jesus said to him, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go." And so this just shows like God's power and how like the miracles that he performs. And this situation, I think, helped people believe that Jesus wasn't just like a good guy or a good friend, but he was God himself, and he is God himself. Like, no one else can raise a dead person to life. Like, that's pretty cool. I don't know anybody that can do that. Like, Jesus literally rose him from the dead, which is like so cool. And he commands us to believe in him so that we can have the same hope when facing death. We know that Jesus is going to provide us comfort, and we can have hope in Jesus because he conquers death. So a verse we're going to look at is in Isaiah 26:19. "But those who die in the Lord will live. Their bodies will rise again. Those who sleep in the earth will rise up and sing for joy." So Jesus was demonstrating to Israel that he could fulfill God's promise to them and that he's the Messiah. So we saw that in that verse. And then the third point we're going to look at, which was the main idea, is Jesus is the answer to death's demand. So soon Jesus was going to be crucified on the cross, and this event with Lazarus foreshadowed that he would also raise himself from the dead. So Jesus didn't just raise Lazarus from the dead, but he also is going to raise himself from the dead, which like that just shows that God has power over death. And Paul reminds us in Romans of the situation that we find ourselves in. It says, "Therefore, just as sin entered the world through one man and death through sin, and in this way death came to all people because all sinned." So sin entered the world through the decisions of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And because of their sin, the consequence of death came along with it. And so this verse reminds us that we're sinners. Like, we're no different than them, because each and every day we sin, we all fall short. But Jesus wants to be the answer to that. Jesus wants to not just leave us there, but he offers us eternity when we believe in him, and he offers us a hope. And apart from Jesus, there's no other resurrection or eternal life. Like, he is the resurrection, and he is our life. John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life." And John 5:24 says, "Very truly I tell you, whoever hears my word and believes him who sent me has eternal life, and will not be judged, but has crossed over from death to life." So this is why Jesus can boldly claim, "I am the resurrection and the life." And one last verse for you guys is Revelation 1:18. It says, "I am the living one. I died, but look, I am alive forever and ever, and I hold the keys of death and the grave." And looking at these verses, it just really shows, I think, God's heart and his love towards us, that when we put our faith and our hope in him and we believe, we get eternal life, and we can have hope in Jesus, knowing that he is our life and he is the resurrection, and just remember as you guys are going throughout the week that, or when you're grieving or you're having a hard time, or maybe you lose somebody that you love, that Jesus is the answer to death's demand, and he wants to comfort you in your grief and in your sadness, and he can be trusted. And so I hope that you guys have an amazing week, and we'll see you back here next Sunday. Bye, guys.